What do you like hunting more, elk or deer?
Yes.
Okay.
We spent the summer
Nicely done.
scouting this area, putting up the trail camera on some elk wallows and on some water sources, and really identifying some bulls that we wanted to pursue. This area of North Idaho, the season happened to run from August 30th to September 30th. We hit it hard, first light August 30th. Opening day had an interested elk, so we thought that was going to set the tone for the rest of the season, and it really didn't. It turned out to be kind of a tough season. It was really hot. We spent the next 2-3 weeks putting in a lot of effort, covering a lot of ground. So
did you feel surprised that we weren't coming across them?
Yeah, it was really surprising that we weren't hearing some elk bugling in response to our bugles or in response to our cow calls, and it was really surprising that we weren't even just bumping elk in the timber, because we were going from ridge line to ridge line to ridge line, and fresh beds, fresh rubs, and it really surprised me that we weren't at least bumping elk, let alone getting them to respond vocally or to come in and be interested to the bugles we were giving off or the cow calls we were giving off. So we spent the season covering a lot of ground. We set up and over mud wallows or water sources, and we did the whole sit and wait game, but that's not really my style of hunting. My style of hunting is more so just sneaking through the timber, trying to put myself in the right position at the right time, and I've had a lot more success with that over the years than just sitting and waiting. We knew we were in the right area. There was enough sign, fresh beds, fresh scat, fresh rubs, enough to stay in those areas and keep hunting those areas, these ridge lines. But we were just like a step behind, we'd set up and rake a tree with a stick and make it sound like we were some big, some sort of bull that was trying to be dominant in this area and stake his claim. And, a lot of times a bull will come in and try to defend his territory from an elk doing that, but we just didn't have the responses that we expected if there were elk in the area. Oftentimes, especially early in the season before the rut is really fired up, oftentimes elk will vocalize, they'll bugle to each other, but they won't really do it in daylight hours. They'll be pretty vocal at night or in those pre-dawn hours. We'd get out there and we'd sleep in the back of the truck, and we'd get up early, 4 o'clock in the morning, do our breakfast routine, and hit the trail well before light in hopes of hearing some sort of vocalization, you know, and getting some sort of a direction to start in, you know, and so we can close the distance and kind of, you know, get right up on them and try to have some sort of an encounter.
It's funny that you say that we hit the trail early, because I think we were only on the trail for maybe 3 of the days that we hunted. Most of the time we were bushwhacking. Up ridges. Yeah,
hiking off trail for sure, or hiking just following elk trails, and, you know, bushwhacking for sure.
You pay a lot of attention to the terrain and to the vegetation. That's one of the things that I learned from you this season. You would pull out your map and identify brush patches and draws. So it seemed like terrain was a major part of your strategy.
Certainly. You know, hunting the terrain is a huge factor. You know, finding the cool bottoms where the elk are going to want to, you know, kind of congregate to during the heat of the day. I certainly like to hunt hard. I'm not a very stationary hunter. I like to move, and, you know, I do like to hunt the steep, aggressive terrain, because that's a lot of times when there's hunting pressure in some of the lower, flatter areas, those elk will kind of push up onto the mountainside or up onto those ridge lines. This is the first season that my wife and I hunted together. She's a great videographer, as you might be able to tell by now. And, you know, I took this opportunity to teach her a lot about how I hunt. It was a really great season in that aspect, as well as the fact that we were able to film my 2016 archery elk tag together. So on the day that I got my elk, she couldn't be with me. She was in class that day here at the University of Idaho. And so I had my little digital pocket camera, and I was trying to work the video camera with one hand and hold my bow with the other, and it just wasn't working out. So I didn't get the great footage on my harvest day that she had gotten throughout the first part of season. Right toward the end of September, working my way down that ridge line, cow calling along. I had a bull bugle. He was a long ways off, but he heard the cow call, and he bugled a little bit. I cow called to him, and he bugled back, but he didn't seem like he was moving. So I got a little closer. I got right on the edge of the timber and the brush field, and I tried to pick out a really good spot where I figured there was some shooting lanes. We were cow calling and bugling back and forth to each other, and he just wasn't moving, so I decided to let out a little bugle. The bugle that he returned sounded really pissed off. The next time I heard him, he was a lot closer, probably 50 yards out still. So I gave one last cow call just to let him know kind of the direction so he'd come. He came through the brush, out of the brush field into the timber, probably 20 yards away from me. And he was behind all this brush and these trees. I came to full draw, but I didn't have a shot. So I let it down. And then he sat there and ripped off a big bugle almost right in my face. And my heart was thumping, my adrenaline was through the roof, of course. He started walking into the timber further, past me, and so I drew again, and then he walked right into this little window. He was probably 17 yards, if that. He was probably closer, he might have been 15 yards. It was a pretty clear shot, so he was just walking slow, and I loosed the arrow, and it hit him, and he took off charging down the hill and across this little draw into the timber. So I waited about 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go down to where I hit him and look for blood. I took, 5-10 steps down the hill, and then I heard a stick snap over on the hillside, and I looked over and I just saw him slowly walking through the woods away from me. I thought, well shit, if I'm, if I hit him and he knows I'm here and he's only slowly walking away, I must have hit him good, he's wounded. I got down into the timber further and I saw him kind of piled up and bedded down in this really open cedar bottom. So I got pretty close and I knocked another arrow and I put another one in him right behind his front shoulder and I got him in the lungs, and he didn't even get up. He just he sat there and just expired. My first archery bull since 2008. On my 8th year. 8 years of hunting archery elk. I finally arrow one and track them and trail them till I found them. It doesn't matter whether he was a raghorn or a record book trophy. He was a beautiful bull. He wasn't real mature by any means, but he wasn't real young either. He was a good kind of middle class bull. Mm-hmm. The experience was everything, and even on some of my my other years where I haven't filled my tag, some of those years have been just top-notch success. Just learning new ground, having the encounters that I've had, getting the bulls to come screaming in, and just having those really close encounters. It just makes the whole season, and not drawing blood on an elk doesn't really seem to matter all the time. Just hunting hard and having those life-changing experiences just makes the whole season. But of course, this year I got to thread the needle and put my bull on the ground, and it was great to be able to put that meat in the freezer and so yeah, we got up in there and we started making trips. We got up there and we skinned out one side and we took the quarters off and we bagged them and stuck them in our backpacks, and then I got the hind quarter in my backpack with some scraps, and then Jen got the front quarter in her backpack with a back strap, and we did that for 2 loads. We did that on one side and then on the other side. So what we have left is some neck meat and tenderloins, and Jen wants the hide. She wants to tan the hide. She's been reading up on it quite a bit. She has a plan in mind, so the hide's in really good shape. I didn't nick it up or anything, and yeah, the antlers are up there still, so saw the skull plate off the whole skull. And then one more load this morning. We're gonna head up there probably we'll leave the house probably within a half hour or so.
Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.